Welcome to the chalkboard, my fellow football nerds, for episode number 61 of Chalk Talk, brought to you by the Painted Lines. I'm your host, Shane Half, and you can follow me on Twitter at halfandhalf_TPL. I'm joined today by the best co-host in the game. You've heard him on the Tough Cover radio show. It is Mark Henry Jr. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. In the Philadelphia landscape of things, Sixers stuff is going on. That's pretty good for me, pretty good for my mood. James Harden sacrificing money to get other role players in, which is a nice thing. But then in the Phillies, Bryce Harper, he breaks his thumb, and now he's out for a while. So I'm kind of shifting off of baseball. In a couple days, I'm going to be shifting off of basketball. I'm officially in football mode at this point. This is the exact part of the summer where I'm shifting into all my thoughts being about either fantasy football, over-unders for win totals in the NFL. And now I'm even starting to dive into college football at this point. So, even I got some 2023 NFL draft takes if you want to get those out. But, I'm officially in football mode for sure. It can't come soon enough is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We do still have some time before we really get into actual football season, but we're going to keep it going here on Chalk Talk. We've got a fun show for you guys today. I think what we're going to do, we are going to snake draft teams against each other, and then we'll throw them up on Twitter and let you guys vote. I might even make a Madden roster and simulate a game between our teams. But the caveat here is that you can only draft players who will be under the age of 25 on opening day of this season. So we're drafting all the young guys in the league. We're going to see who can construct the best team. So this is a show Mark and I have been talking about doing for a while. It kind of got put off a few times, but it's been a while. I kind of forgot all my research, so hopefully my notes make sense to me on the fly. But in the spirit of fairness here, we're going to give a random wheel spin here to see who gets the number one overall pick, because there's a clear guy who's going to go number one no matter who gets the pick. And so let's spin it here and see who gets it.
Wow.
And I am going to pull a Dibes, and I'm going to get the first pick here. So I will get the first pick. We've got a question coming in from Squidward Tentacles. Says, A.J. Brown turns 25 tomorrow. Is he eligible? Yes. Or no, excuse me. They have to be under the age of 25 when the regular season starts. So there's a few guys that are 24 now, but they turn 25 in August. Those guys don't count. So it has to be under 25 when week one happens.
I definitely think when I ranked these, I thought they couldn't turn 25 during the season. So you're definitely going to pull one or two guys out that I'm like, oh, I thought they were ineligible. But I ranked them so long ago that I don't even know if I'll remember. But yeah, let's go. You can go ahead.
All right, well,
if any of those come up, we'll bring it up.
Yeah, so I think we all know who my pick is going to be. So I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. I'm a big Herbert guy. It's a long-running thing on this podcast, the Herbert versus Burrow debates. But Joe Burrow does not meet this qualification. He's going to be 25 before the season starts. So Herbert is a clear cut guy here in terms of quarterbacks at the age of 25. Throws for 4,000 yards his rookie year, throws for 5,000 yards last season. Huge arm, most important position on the field, clear-cut tier for me here. I'm going to assume, Mark, that's who you would have taken with number one as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
All right, so Mark is on the clock here, and he's going to get the next two picks. So, Mark, lay them on me here.
So one pick's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to go Kyle Pitts, and it actually has a lot more to do with the rest of the position. If you don't get Kyle Pitts, it's probably Pat Fryermuth, and I think that's probably the biggest gap. Maybe Herbert's probably a bigger gap. Maybe even I actually think the Pitts gap between Pitts and Fryermuth is probably bigger than the gap between Herbert and the next guy. But quarterback is so much more important than any other position that gap means so much more, even if it's not as big. I don't know if I put that in a very smart fashion there, Shane. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah. That Pitts, if I got the second pick, assuming you took Herbert, I would have taken Pitts because there's such a drop-off. There's no other tight end under the age of 25, really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Pat Fryermuth is who I'll pick down the road. There's no need to do that now, but it's just a big gap there between those guys. So I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, and I actually was going to go in another kind of position scarcity kind of direction, but I don't think you're going to take them yet. So I'm going to play a little, GM mind games here. And instead of going that way, and I also didn't know we were going to do 3 receivers. I kind of had 2 in mind. I have enough rank to do 3, so that's fine. But since there is 3, I think that there's probably a little bit more value in getting the best guy. So I'm going all aboard the pass catcher train, and I'm going with Justin Jefferson. I think a lot of people have started to do the whole Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase, same thing. I know you're not a fantasy guy, Shane. I'm going to turn you into a fantasy guy by the end of this summer, I think. But I think even in fantasy, it's like who's the number, because Cooper Kupp is kind of the unquestioned number 1 receiver for fantasy purposes. For number 2, it's kind of a debate between Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase. I don't think it's a debate, especially with I think more things are changing positively for Jefferson, and his offense is going to be more geared towards him and the passing game with the new head coach that's an offensive coordinator. But I just think Justin Jefferson's still a markedly better player than Ja'Marr Chase. And I know I'm giving away a pick there talking about Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase, but I think it's spoiler alert, Ja'Marr Chase is going to get drafted in this draft. But I think Justin Jefferson is on another level at this point, and I think he's proven that by doing it with Kirk Cousins, who I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is bad. He's average. He's quite the definition of average. But Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase are kind of a special case where they got to play together in college. They put up record numbers in college, and then they got to play together in the pros, and not to mention Joe Burrow is probably a top 5 to 7 quarterback in the league, no matter how you slice it. So I think that's a benefit that Ja'Marr has that Jefferson didn't have, and Jefferson was still a better player last year. So I think Jefferson's still the better player.
Yeah, I had him real close, but I had Jefferson ranked ahead of Ja'Marr Chase. So I think that's a good pick there. Not a great pick, we'll say, but I think it was a good pick. We got Mr. Crockpot chiming in. He says, "Wow, Justin Herbert to Shane, how original." I really thought, like when we first did this, I thought we were going to get into a Burrow-Herbert debate with quarterbacks here, and then I realized that Burrow doesn't meet the age qualification here. So
he's not even close, right?
Yeah, I don't. How old is Joe Burrow? I think he's already 25, right?
Yeah,
he turned 25 in December. I remember him being an old rookie.
Yeah, very old.
Okay, so all the picks are on offense right now. I'm going to change that here. I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball for a pick. One of my picks is easy, and then I'm going to have to think about the other one. But I'm going to go. I'm going to take Nick Bosa. I don't know why that's so small. I'll fix that in a minute. But Nick Bosa is not small. He is quite large. Just phenomenal player. You could argue maybe that he's the best young player in the league. I don't know if you'd be willing to go that far. In 2021, he had 15 and a half sacks. Like, he's just been an elite player. He had the ACL injury, early in his career, but he's been a great player. Great edge rusher, and there's some good edge rushers in this group, but none of them have the accolades that Nick Bosa does. I think there's a clear tier there that he stands alone on. So I'm going to take him. I want to be able to rush the passer. And then for my other pick, it starts to get interesting. I'm torn between going a couple different ways here.
I'm hoping you don't go the way I was going to go.
Man. While I think about it, tell me, would you agree with the statement that Nick Bosa is arguably the best young player in the league right now?
Do you just mean he's the best player under 25?
Sure. Yeah. If we're going with our criteria here, under 25, you think he's the best player under 25? Or would you give that to Herbert or Jefferson or one of those guys?
It's to me, it's probably not Herbert quite yet. It's just that he's more important because he's a quarterback, but just in terms of who's the best player, Jefferson and Bosa are really close.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I've made my pick. I'm going to go a little bit down my ranking here, but it's one of those positions I think there is a drop off. And I'm going to go to safety, and I'm going to take Antoine Winfield Jr. He's been really good for the Bucs. There's not a ton of safeties under 25 that I feel great about. sticking in there. There's some good like role playing guys, but I think Winfield is the one guy that can sort of do it all. He can play both free safety and strong safety. He's been good blitzing. It's crazy that he was a second round pick. He's been so good, and obviously he's been in a good position in Tampa Bay. But I think there's a pretty sizable drop off at safety once you get away from Winfield. So I'm going to go Antoine Winfield Jr.
I'm sticking at the same position, and it was the guy I was going to take the round before. It's the guy that Shane Half called the best defensive prospect he's ever graded, and I'm going with Kyle Hamilton. I think Kyle. I thought about going double Kyle in the first two picks with Kyle Pitts and Kyle Hamilton, but I went with Jefferson just because, I think for obvious reasons that I laid out last time. But Kyle Hamilton, I think, is going to be just as good as Antoine Winfield, and I think he's got the upside to be better with all the things he can do on the floor. I'm still talking about. My brain is still a little bit in basketball mode, but all the things he can do on the field in terms of playing linebacker, cornerback, slot corner, safety. Like Kyle Hamilton, and I'm wearing the Notre Dame shirt because I knew I would end up picking Kyle Hamilton here, but I just he can do it all. I think Kyle Hamilton is going to translate so well to the next level that I'm not nervous to take him, before he's ever played it down. And I think Baltimore is going to put him in position to succeed right away too. So I love Kyle Hamilton, and I know Shane does too. But what do you think? What do you think of that pick before I get to my next one, Shane?
I like it. I struggled with where to rank him, being a rookie. I know we talked about including rookies being included here. I had him as my second guy behind Winfield just because Winfield's proven it. I obviously think the ceiling on Hamilton is sky high, and I don't think he's going to have any trouble transitioning to the league. This is going to make my Madden roster idea a little problematic, though.
That's true. That's definitely true.
I might have to wait till they drop rookie ratings, and then we can create it and run a simulation.
Oh, that'll be fun. This is where it gets tough. I'm in a bind here, but I'm gonna go with a proven guy, and we kind of talked about this before already. Do I put him at DN? Do I put him at linebacker? We're gonna put Micah Parsons at edge for now. We reserve the right to change that later, potentially.
I should mention that so you could be setting up a 4-3 or a 3-4, and I tried to give that option here, and so I have a defensive end, a defensive tackle, like defensive line, and edge. So I mean, we can play a little fast and loose with whether you're building a 4-3 or a 3-4 here. It's also sort of set up around nickel base personnel with two linebackers, but we do have a flex front seven and a flex defensive back. So we can get creative with it as we go. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah, Micah Parsons, you got him as an edge here.
Yeah. Micah Parsons is, I think it goes without saying how good he was last year. I would have taken Bosa over him, but I do think there's a potentially sizable drop off to the next edge rusher, defensive end, whatever you want to call them, depending on how high you are on certain rookies. I'll just go out and say that. But so I still am going to, keep my eyes on that edge position. But Parsons is definitely the best player available on the board on either side of the ball in terms of just who's the best right now, I think. There's some directions I could have went in that would have been interesting in terms of position scarcity, but this is where I decided to go.
Yeah, I think it's so great. Like, he was not drafted to be an edge rusher, and I don't even know that the Cowboys would have used him there had there not been injuries, and really kind of fall backwards into that one. Mr. Crockpot says, I know he's 26, but I'd have to think Derek Barnett gets drafted pretty highly here. Yeah, if it was 26 and under, I know Derek Barnett would have been Mark's first-round pick there.
Yeah, big Barnett guy.
Okay, so I am up now with two picks. Looking here. Okay, so one place I want to go, a place that I think there's a clear drop-off again, or not necessarily a drop-off, but a clear top guy. I've got to get somebody that can cover Justin Jefferson, and so I'm going to take A.J. Terrell out of Atlanta. I think people massively sleep on how good he has been. Last year, he had the highest coverage grade of any quarterback in the NFL per PFF at a 90.1, which is just, I mean, you can take PFF for what it's worth, but he allowed 29 catches for 200 yards all season. And so, yeah, he gets glossed over because he plays for the Falcons. I still remember when the Eagles took Jalen Reagor in the whatever draft that was, that I really wanted them to trade up with the Falcons so they could go get CeeDee Lamb, who was my guy in that draft. I think he was yours as well.
Absolutely.
And the Falcons took AJ Terrell, and I was like, how could you not trade up? Like, he wasn't going in the first round. Well, it turns out he should have gone higher because he's been phenomenal for the Falcons. And so I'm going to get a CB1 here. And then, I forgot to check Parsons off my list. And then I'm going to go offensive tackle. I'm going to take Tristan Worfs. Mm-hmm. You got Micah Parsons. I'm all about getting somebody that can block him here. So Tristan Wirfs, another great player. The Bucs have had really good luck drafting. They get Wirfs. They get a guy like Antoine Winfield. But Wirfs comes in his rookie season and just incredible season. And he didn't really fall off last year. He's done really well. Now he plays right tackle. I guess I'm going to move him down here. I don't know that it matters. I don't know that we're getting that specific, but he's technically probably going to be my right tackle. But just top tier offensive lineman, and that's really important for me for my offense.
I can't believe he's still on the board. I have to go with Ja'Marr Chase, even though I kind of shit on him earlier. Sorry for the curse word there, but I think he's just such an amazing talent. Give me a J A apostrophe.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was just looking that up.
I have everything in my brain because I write way too many lists due to fantasy. So
I've become capitalized.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you could throw an extra S there on Parsons there for graphic purposes as well. But I'm gonna go with Ja'Marr Chase because even though I did say that there is a gap between him and Jefferson, there's a gap between him and the next guy for sure. Who I think is probably the guy we just talked about, the CeeDee Lamb, who's a really good player. But Ja'Marr Chase is the top 5 receiver in the world, no matter how you slice it. Probably top 3. So I think I got 2 of the top 3 receivers. You're still going to be able to build a pretty nice receiver room because that is a pretty rich position in terms of depth. But I decided to kind of go heavy on the stars there. And then this is where it gets really tough. You got you got the best corner on the board, but I'm going to reach into the rookie well again and go with Sauce Gardner. I'm not worried about Sauce Gardner translating the next level either, and that's why the Jets took him 3rd overall. They don't seem to be worried about it either. I think Sauce, he didn't give a touchdown up in about 1 billion snaps at Cincinnati, and he stays on the field for every down. He can do it all that you'd want to see from a cornerback. I know that it was in the AAC, but he showed it against guys like guys on Alabama. It's not like he faltered once they had to play against legitimate talent. He was able to handle it. So I think he's unbelievable. So it's Jamison Williams. All the talk was, I always bring this up when I talk about Sauce Gardner. Kirk Herbstreit on College game day, the day that Cincinnati was going to face Alabama, they were saying, would Sauce need a double on Jamison Williams? And he's like, there's not a cornerback in the country, not in college, but in the NFL as well, that can single cover Jamison Williams. And then he went out there and shut Jamison Williams down on 20 snaps against him, single coverage. So Sauce Gardner is going to be an absolute stud at the next level.
Yeah, I thought about going after Ja'Marr Chase. I'd kind of decided at the beginning, if I didn't get Justin Jefferson, I was just going to wait on receiver because it is a pretty deep group. But that's definitely going to be a tough duo to stop there. So I think that's a really good pick. Let's see. I'm up with 2 picks. Now I really don't want to go receiver because you've already got 2. I got to figure you're not going to go there again quickly. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take another one of my guys, a draft guy. I'm going to go to center. I'm going to take Creed Humphrey.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I think Creed Humphrey is not only the best young center in the league. I think you could make an argument he is a top 2 to 3. He might be the best center in the NFL right now. 2 years into his career, he's just had an incredible start, and there's not another center on this list really. There wasn't one, at least that I was thinking of, that I could find. I was looking at a lot of I could take this guard and make him play center. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a guy like Creed Humphrey here. And then for my second pick, Do I want to go? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take another cornerback. I'm gonna take Patrick Surtain.
It's a great pick.
If I can spell, which we already established I can't because I already spelled two of your guys' names. Or maybe I'm doing that on purpose. It's just a
yeah.
Some bulletin board material. But yeah, Surtain. The whole debate last year was Surtain versus Horn, and it's hard to stack them up because Horn got hurt. But Surtain had a really good season his rookie year in Denver. He had a 56% completion percentage when he was targeted in coverage last year for Denver. Now, notably, one of those completions he allowed was getting mossed by Devonta Smith, but that's irrelevant here. Patrick Surtain and AJ Terrell is a really good CB duo for me to try to deal with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, those are absolutely great picks and guys that I was definitely looking at. I felt like there was a big time drop off at guard, so this isn't a sexy pick, but I'm going to go with Trey Smith, a guy that I know you like a lot on Kansas City. Kansas City just killed that draft in terms of fixing. They killed that offseason in terms of fixing an offensive line problem, going and getting Trey Smith and then going and getting Humphrey. They went out and fixed an offensive line in one offseason and also had building blocks for the future. This is where it gets tough. I don't value this position at all, but I think there's a drop off. I guess I'll take Jonathan Taylor.
I almost did that last round, but that's what I fell back on too. Is I just didn't care.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you at all for not caring. You can take Najee or DeAndre Swift or Antonio Gibson. It's just I at a certain point I had to go and make that move instead of making a move that I think I can make in a round or two.
Yeah. I debated about that. I thought about taking him instead of Surtain last time, but I was like, I'm okay with Najee. I'll fill him in later. And I do love Jonathan Taylor, though. I was leading the charge for MVP for Jonathan Taylor last year.
You were. I was leading the charge for Cooper Kupp for MVP. That was my big thing. I still think he should have won. I really do.
Yeah. Okay, I am going to take another guard. Since you took one here, I need to get one as well. I'm going to take Michael Onwenu. I had him and Trey Smith as the two guards that were kind of like my top tier of guards. So I want to make sure that I get one of those guys. And then, let's see. I think, yeah, I'm just going to do it. This is a guy that both you and I loved. I'm going to go to linebacker here, and I'm going to take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I had him and Micah Parsons in my top tier at linebacker alone, and I've let it float long enough with only one guy being there. Linebacker, not necessarily the most important, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is so much more than just a linebacker. He can do a lot of things for me, so I'm going to get him to help out my secondary.
That hurts. That definitely hurts. I'm losing a Notre Dame guy there. That definitely hurts. But I'm going to do another boring pick and go to offensive tackle. And I got to go with Rashaan Slater. He really stepped in and I think he made the Pro Bowl already. Am I wrong there? I believe he made the Pro Bowl right away for the Chargers last year. And I think he was one of the better graded offensive tackles in the entire league at 83.6, which I have to imagine is somewhere in the top 5 to 10 for offensive tackles just in general. So I think Rashaan Slater is an absolute stud going forward, who's going to continue protecting Justin Herbert. And then here's where, it gets tough. It gets dicey. I'm going to go to corner because I don't want to go double rookie at corner. And I'm going to take a guy who takes a lot of risks and has been burnt a lot. He gave up a lot of yards last year, but he also made a lot of plays. I'll go with Travon Diggs. And I think that having Sauce, who I think is going to be more of a lockdown type of guy, almost in the model of a Revis where you just don't throw to his side of the field. I think you can have a guy who takes the risks on the other side, a la an Asante Samuel in Travon Diggs. So I do think the praise went too far for Diggs at one point last year when he was making a ton of plays. But then I do think there's those stats about his PFF grades and how many yards he's allowing. And I think sometimes it does get forgotten that he did change a lot of games last year, just being able to go and make a play. So I think he became so underrated that he was overrated, and then he became so overrated that he was underrated. So I think he's still a really good player who can make a lot of plays.
Yeah, he allowed like 25% more yardage than the second next closest person, but he also led the league in interceptions. So if he hung around too terribly much longer, he would have been my CB3 just for that. I mean, it's all about getting turnovers in today's NFL, and he can get you turnovers. And so I think that's a good pick. He's definitely a guy that I would have liked to have had as my third guy if it got that far. Okay, let's see, man. There's some positions that under 25 is just not good.
There's a really really good player sitting out there right now, but it's kind of at a deep position. So I've been staying away, and I almost feel bad about it. I had to bring it up at this point.
That's where I'm at. Like there's about 3 positions that I'm looking at that there's guys I like, but I like more than one person there. So it's like, well, I can wait on them. I need to do something else here. Let's see. I could still use another pass rusher. I could still use another defensive back. I could eventually go to a wide receiver. That might be a good move to make. No. All right, I'm gonna go safety here, and I'm gonna take Jeremy Chin. I think Jeremy Chin, he's kind of more of a box safety for you. Antoine Winfield can play my free safety. Jeremy Chin can play my strong safety. Let him do what he did really well his rookie year. And then I'm going to take another guy here. Do I want to do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Javon Holland as well. And for now, I'm going to plug him in as my flex, but he might end up being my CB3. He might be my slot guy. That's a role he really thrives in. But he's either going to be my third safety or my slot. I have not decided for sure yet. We'll see.
I like that. This is tough.
I had him listed as a slot on my little sheet, but now that I'm looking at it, there's still some corners I like. So we'll see.
I almost want to triple dip at this point. No, I can't do that. I'm not triple dipping. Man, this is tough. I'm going to go with Christian Barmore, defensive tackle from the Patriots. A little bit off the board, but I think he's by far the best defensive tackle on the board. And then now I'm going to go with a rookie, and I'm going to go with Devin Lloyd because I think Devin Lloyd's going to be unbelievable right away in the NFL. I know he went in the second round, and I know he's on the Jags, but I think his height, I think his athleticism, I think everything he brings to the field is going to make him translate right away. That's not the type of guy that I think is going to take a long time. And he was a multi-year contributor at Utah. I think Devin Lloyd's an absolute stud.
All right, so that puts me back up on the board here. My running back and tight end are already locked. I don't need to take those. Let me look at. I'm gonna take another pass rusher, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to take a pass rusher here. I'm going to take Rashaan Gary. He had 9.5 sacks last year. He had 28 quarterback hits, 81 total pressures. His pass rush win rate percentage, that's hard to say, RPFF, is the best of any edge rusher from the 2019 class, which includes the other guy that I have on my roster, Nick Bosa. And so I think I've got a pair of really good pass rushers here, guys that can really get after the passer. If I can spell his name here. And then, okay, that was my first pick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first pick. Then I'm going to look at I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go back to linebacker here. And I'm going to take Devin White. Devin White, I know he's one of those guys, he's kind of polarizing. Like some people vastly overrate him, some vastly underrate him. He's really good pass rusher. He has struggled in coverage, but he's got all of the speed that you could want, hyper athleticism. He does play next to Levante David, who gives him some of that freedom to maybe not be so disciplined in coverage. And so maybe he can play off of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah here, and that will work out as well too. And if not, maybe I just send him rushing the passer too.
He's the first guy who I haven't had ranked. I don't know if I just missed him. I don't know if I thought he was 25. Yeah, he would have been in my consideration. I don't know if I would have taken Lloyd as early had I had him on my list, because he would have been a name that at least would have kind of gave me pause. I'm going to go back to the.
I'm going to check and make sure now that you said that.
No, I think I just looked it up. He's 24. He turns 25 in February.
Okay.
So I don't know if I thought maybe that was in the year, or I don't know. Whatever. Moving on. You just made 2 picks, right? I'm not skipping you.
Yes, I took Rashaan Gary and Devin White.
All right, so I'm going to go with a rookie here, and I'm going to go to cornerback. I'm going to take Andrew Booth Jr., which is a little crazy, I know, to take him over Derek Stingley Jr. if I'm going to go with a rookie corner. But Booth's got experience in the slot, so I think I can throw Booth in the slot on day one with Gardner and Diggs on the outside. So that's basically where I wanted to go with that instead of taking Stingley, who I don't think has ever played in the slot to my knowledge, because he played on the outside right away at LSU as a freshman. And then I'm going to go with another rookie. I feel like I'm going to be the rookie heavy team probably. And I'm going to go with Kvon Thibodeaux at defensive end, which I know is kind of surprising. Chase Young was not that good last year. Like when he played, if you look at the numbers and the PFF and the stats and everything behind it, like I know he's really good against the rush. It didn't really reflect that last year if you look at some of the grades behind it, but Chase Young really took a step back before the injury and then had a massive injury. If Kvon Thibodeaux's upside is as high as I think it can be, that's where I have to go. If Chase Young already showed me a year of down production before a massive injury, I actually had Thibodeaux ranked over Young. Young was the guy who I was saying was awesome, but he was at a deep position. I was almost trying to okie doke you into taking Chase Young so I could take Thibodeaux, but that's where I ended up going. I have so many rookies on defense, and I think I might have more coming. So I'm the rookie team.
I did not anticipate this many rookies getting drafted, but
I'm high. I was really high on this defensive rookie class. It makes sense that it's all on defense, I guess. I don't think any of it will be on offense.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm back up here. You're filled out on CB, so I can wait on that.
Yeah, that was definitely a dumb value pick. You definitely weren't going to take Andrew Booth Jr. So I definitely should have. Yeah, that was definitely a dumb pick just in terms of like GMing wise, but whatever.
I could go defensive line here. I could go offensive tackle, but there's a few that I like still.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of.
Or I could eventually just go to wide receiver. Okay, I'm going to make a pick here. I'm going to take Ed Oliver. Oliver is a guy that when he was coming out, I loved in the draft.
No, don't have him ranked. I don't know if I forgot him. Don't know what happened there, but I missed Ed Oliver. I like Ed Oliver a lot.
Yeah, hyper athletic. Has not made a splash, but he's a really solid player for Buffalo. And he's graded out well. He looks good. He just hasn't had a lot of sack production, which he is an interior defensive lineman. But I think he gives you the penetrate upfield ability, which is going to work really well next to the next guy that I draft, which is going to be Jordan Davis.
Yeah, I knew you were going to take him.
So I've got 2 hyper athletic guys inside. One of them can clog up the middle. The other one can rush the passer with reckless abandon. So I'm going to take that 1-2 punch there and close out my defensive line.
So now I got to take a look at what I need compared to what you need at this point. I guess I'll go with offensive tackle, even though you just mentioned you're going to wait on it. And I'm going to go with this is like.
This is why I haven't picked one yet. I keep almost saying a name, then I'm like, but
yeah. All right, I'm triple dipping at receiver. Screw you, Shane. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. You waited too long. You pissed me off leaving him on the board. I can't let my guy and your boy, your Oklahoma guy, CeeDee Lamb. I can't let him linger on the board. So you could take Jalen Waddle. There's still 3 really good receivers you could take there. So you're gonna be.
That's the only reason I've let it go
know.
so long is there's just so many good receivers.
Yeah. Oh man, this is tough. This is so tough. Once we get to this point, yeah, I'll just take Penei Sewell, even though it's not like I probably could go with Evan Neal or Ike Ekwonu, whoever you think like your favorite rookie tackle is. I think it's probably the next guy, unless Shane has another guy I just somehow don't have ranked. But I feel like people were down on Sewell last year at different points. He ended up with a 77 PFF grade, and that's in a rookie year protecting the statue that is Jared Goff in Detroit in a bad situation. So I think Penei Sewell, a lot of people were calling him a generational prospect last year. I wasn't quite there and last year, but I did have him as a top 7 pick and the obvious best offensive lineman in the class. But I think Penei Sewell and Rashaan Slater are a really good bookend in terms of the tackles there.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. He's one of the 2 guys that I was struggling with deciding who to go. I guess I'll tell you the other one.
Is it a rookie?
It's not a rookie.
Oh, interesting.
It's not a rookie. I had one other offensive tackle that I liked that was already in the league. Okay.
Oh, I know who it is. Never mind.
Okay.
I think I know.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when I pick. Okay, so I could go CB3, but you're locked out on CB. We still share offensive guard. Offensive guard is the only place that we share right now.
Wow.
Okay, so
I guess flexes.
Yeah, flexes. I guess I need to go offensive guard with one of these picks, but I don't know which one I want to do yet.
I'm with you.
So there's 2 guys that I kind of debated back and forth on. One of them is a guy that I really liked in last year's draft, although he did not perform very well, in Elijah Vera Tucker.
He's on my list.
Yeah, the other one was Cesar Ruiz from New Orleans, who I don't think has necessarily the potential, and he didn't honestly play that well last year either. I'm gonna go with Elijah Vera Tucker. I liked him so much. He got stuck in a bad situation in New York. I think he's going to bounce back. I feel more confident about him than I do about Cesar Ruiz. So we'll take Elijah Vera Tucker, and I'll Google how to spell his name in a minute.
I could tell you.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm a spelling freak. I'm such a nerd about it. But I'm gonna. So we don't share anything. Oh,
we don't. But I still got another pick. We could technically overlap on flexes, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a flex quarterback just to screw you over. So I'll go ahead and fill in a receiver here. I'm going to take Jalen Waddle. Who you accurately predicted was the next guy. So that'll fill mine out. And while I Google how to spell Elijah Vera Tucker, you can go ahead and make your 2 picks.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a strong case that Waddle's better than CeeDee Lamb. You could absolutely.
I actually had him ranked. So I had CeeDee Lamb 4. I had Waddle 3.
Oklahoma Shane he's an unbiased man. He can take his Oklahoma bias out of it. No, but I still am higher on CD just as like a talent. But Jalen Waddle definitely just had a better year in his rookie year with Tua throwing him the ball than Jalen Waddle's had with Dak throwing him the ball. It's different situations because they have a lot of receivers there. I think we're gonna find out who's better this year between CD and Jalen Waddle for sure. That'll be a fun thing to keep track. Shane's a Waddle guy. I'm a Lamb guy. That's fun to keep track on now.
Waddle was my wide receiver 1.
He was.
Draft. I had him above Chase.
You love Waddle. Would you say you had Waddle graded higher as a prospect than you had CD as a prospect a couple years ago? Would you believe?
Probably slightly. It would have been close. I had. It'd be interesting to go back and kind of, but I don't put like numerical grades on it, so it's always hard for me to compare those. I really should start doing like numerical grading to compare across years. But when I watched Waddle, I saw Tyreek Hill, which is funny because now he plays on the same field with Tyreek Hill. So that's going to be interesting to watch.
even the way he like moves with the ball, they kind of have
Mhm.
like the same kind of movements. It's pretty crazy. I remember we talked about that a lot in last year's draft. I'm going to go double offensive line here just to kind of take care of that. I'm going to go with Tyler Linderbaum at center. A lot of people have said that, he was clearly the best offensive lineman in this draft class, but he plays center, so who really cares? But that's what he's doing. That's what he's going to do. Play center. I think he's going to step in and be a stud right away. And then I'm going to go to flex. I'm not going to go to offensive guard. And I'm going to go with Landon Dickerson because I do think he can play some center. Obviously, he did it in college, but I can use him at guard if the guy I have doesn't pan out. So I think Landon Dickerson makes a ton of sense. He was kind of like the next guy I had up at guard and center. So might as well just throw him in that flex.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead just so I don't get screwed over here. I'm going to go double receiver, just so you don't do something crazy here. Because I thought this could really mess me up if he goes with a flex here. So I'm going to take DK Metcalf. He has 29 touchdowns the last 3 years, which is fifth most in the league. And he did that playing for a team that does not like to throw the ball. And obviously Russell Wilson's a good deep ball quarterback, but he's a deep threat. Apparently my team's just going to be pure speed, but we've got the little guy in Waddle, and then we've got the big guy in DK Metcalf. And then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get a different type of receiver. I'm going to go take T. Higgins from Cincinnati. He had a really good rookie season, and he got even better last year, even with the addition of Jamar Chase. He had an 84.5 PFF grade last year. A lot of momentum. I really think T. Higgins would be a wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams. He's just not on the Bengals. And ironically, I remember in the draft when he was coming out, he was being connected to the Eagles, and I just hated that connection because I was having visions of J-Jaw, of Alshon. I was like, let's quit going for big, slow receivers. But T. Higgins was definitely wrong about that one, and I'm happy he's going to be on my football team. I'm
going to stay at receiver. I might as well because I wouldn't have taken T. Higgins 6th. And this is an interesting conversation. I'm going to go with Devontae Smith. I think Smith's a better player than T. Higgins. I know that's going to sound like probably some homer stuff, but I think if you put Smith in that offense with Joe Burrow as opposed to Jalen Hurts last year, I think he probably would have even put up better numbers than T. Higgins did, or at least would have done better than he did as a rookie. So I'm still – and this goes back to our drafting from last year. Like I had Smith as my wide receiver 1 in that class. By the way, look wrong. Definitely so far, because of Smith not being very good. It's because Waddle and Chase look like all-time talents. I think Smith is getting shortchanged a little bit because he was in a different situation than those guys, and Jalen Hurts is not the type of quarterback that is going to get a Devontae Smith 90 catches with 1,500 yards. But I think Smith is still going to be an absolute stud down the line. And then this is, I guess I'll just take Chase Young as like my D lineman and use him all over the place. I don't know. That's just an embarrassment of riches, I guess. Or maybe I can move Parsons to linebacker and whatever.
All right. I like it. Devonta Smith was the next guy on my list. So he was my 7th guy. Okay, so let's see. I still need an offensive tackle, but you can't take an offensive tackle. You already filled your flex. I could take another offensive guard for my flex and try to mess with you. Could still use a flex. We both need a flex defensive lineman. And I need a CB3. So let me look at defensive line here. Let me take Chase Young off my list. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me check this guy's age real quick. I think I'm good. Yes, I'm good. I'm going to take Brian Burns as my flex front 7 player.
I was looking at him as my flex.
Yeah. I mean, he can play him defensive end. He can rush kind of as a stand-up guy if you want to do that 3-4 sort of look. He's just a pressure machine, and he plays on a crappy team, and so people don't really know, he's not a big name, but he's a really good player, really good pass rusher. So I'm going to go there. And then let's see, is there an offensive guard I want to take? No, not really. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and take my CB3, so you don't flex him here, and I'm going to take Derek Stingley.
It's a good pick. I was going to flex him with the next pick, just so you know.
Were you? Well, I won't tell you the other people I was thinking about at corner until after you do that, I guess. But so I'll take Stingley there for my flex player, which I guess does mean Javon Holland is just going to be my third safety.
Bigger problems to have.
Yeah.
Like mine right now. This is tough. This is a tough call. This draft is tough. I'm looking at safety, I guess, even though, I guess all the positions at this point, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to go with Xavier McKinney on the Giants. He was 75.4 grade last year. I think he's the best one on the board. There's another guy who kind of is right there nipping at his heels. I might just end up taking him later on at that position. But I'm actually going to have you move Parsons to linebacker. And I still cannot, if we're being realistic, I can still end up using them and taking these guys out of the lineup. But if you want to move Chase Young to edge and then slot Quinnen Williams in on the defensive line, I know Quinnen Williams has kind of been disappointing for New York, but I think that part of that is the Jets of the Jets. So he was still a 64.4 PFF grade last year, which I'm not saying is great or anything, but I think some people are kind of talking about him like he's a bust already. Which I think is kind of crazy. He was the third pick of the draft 3 years ago. So I think he's still got a lot of potential. I was never crazy high on him in general. But he still had 7 sacks last year. It's not like we're talking about a stiff. He had 8 sacks the year before. And I believe he had 8 in the year before that. So he's still getting sacks at a high rate. So I think he's getting underrated.
All right. Yeah, Xavier McKinney was the next highest rated safety I had, so I think that's a good pick. That's who I would have taken if I was going to close out safety there. My defense is totally closed out. You can't take running back or tight end or receiver, so I'm still good with those. So I guess I'll go to the offensive line here. I'm going to take 2 offensive linemen. I'm going to take Andrew Thomas as my offensive tackle. I don't know is that who you thought I was going to take?
Yeah.
So Andrew Thomas was kind of a laughing stock his rookie season, but he rebounded really well last year, settled in, and honestly, he's a really good player. He's a good building block for them. So I think Andrew Thomas is a good starting offensive tackle here. And then I'm going to go to the rookie well, and I'm going to take Ike Ekwonu. If for some reason Andrew Thomas falters, then Ike Ekwonu is going to step in. And I think Ike Ekwonu could play guard too if I wanted him to. So maybe Elijah Vera Tucker has a hard time. I could kick him inside to guard, but I think that gives me some good versatility on the offensive line.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That's absolutely a great pick. I'll just stick on the offensive line, and you can give me Kenyan Green, who went way too high in the draft to the Texans. I forget, what was that, 13th? Did you go 13th?
It was 13 or 15 or something like that.
Something like that. And I had him as a back end first rounder. He's definitely a guy who I think can play right away. With his experience at Texas A&M, I think he's going in the SEC at the highest level, playing against the best defensive linemen in the country. I think Kenyan Green's going to be able to play right away. So I'll throw him in there. Landon Dickerson I have as the flex option anyway. This is tough. This is a tough call. You know what? Screw it. I'll be a homer. Give me Nakobe Dean. I don't care that he went in the 4th round or whatever it was. Nakobe Dean's a stud. He's gonna be a stud right away. The injuries were fake news. So give me Nakobe Dean. I love the guy.
All right. You want to go ahead and just fill out your team? We have no overlap now. So who's your quarterback going to be?
Man, this is tough. What should I
know what I would do, but I'm curious. It's between 2 guys for you.
Yeah.
I know. I just don't know which one you're going to take.
Oh man, you go first. Let me go to my flex. I'll do my flex first, and then let you go. This is a tough call. But I'm gonna go just because of versatility. There's better players on the board. I could go with Trevon Moehrig. I could go with Greg Newsome. I could go with Eric Stokes. But I'm gonna go with Daxton Hill because he can kind of play corner, slot corner, outside corner, and safety. So I think Daxton Hill gives me a lot of versatility. If you go fill out your other slots, we'll leave my quarterback to be like the grand reveal at the end.
Okay. So my tight end is going to be Pat Fryermuth. Like you said, he's really the only other option, which he's a player I liked. Had 60 receptions last year for 497 yards and 7 touchdowns, playing with the most washed quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL. I think he's an athletic guy. I think he can be a good player. Obviously, he's nothing near Kyle Pitts. Now, I've got my receiver, but I'm curious if this is who you would take here.
I actually only ranked 7.
Okay, I had it down to 2 guys here, but I'm going to take Darnell Mooney.
I like Mooney a lot. I really, really, really like Mooney. He's going to be a guy I have a lot of shares on in fantasy this year. Let me look up a receiver list to see who would have been like if I would have had anyone else above that.
The Bears must really like him too because he's literally the only receiver they have. But he had 1,000 yards last year. That's good. 13 yards per reception. The other guy I contemplated was Rashad Bateman because I was pretty high on Rashad Bateman. But, rookie year didn't go so great. There was injuries. There was a ton of injuries in Baltimore, but Bateman himself had one. So anyways, I'll take Darnell Mooney there as my fourth receiver.
I did have another player ranked above Mooney, actually, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm really high on Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, just because I think Jared Goff is the absolute worst, and I think he did pretty well with him last year. So it's basically just based in that. Mooney's probably like more impressive as a player, kind of, but I think that's just maybe. I actually don't think I have a problem. I actually have them ranked 19 and 20 on my fantasy rankings right now on my board this year, but those are really, really both good players. I don't have a problem with taking either.
Yeah, that's the you got Amon-Ra St. Brown put up 900 yards with Jared Goff as his quarterback versus Darnell Mooney put up 1,000 yards with Matt Nagy as his coach. So it's like which guy was a bigger dead weight? And then for running back, I mean, you called this one too. I'm going to go with Najee Harris. He's really the only other I guess he's not the only other option, but he's definitely the one that I'm going to take. I think he's the best option that's left. And I like Najee Harris. I thought the Steelers overdrafted him. But I thought he was good. Before you give your quarterback pick, Quentin says it'd be interesting to see the players with their ratings so we can see how well Mark and Shane did. Are you talking like PFF ratings? Because I could definitely.
I think he's saying Madden. I think he's saying.
Oh
Madden.
yeah. I'll have to, since there's so many rookies, I'll have to wait till like rookie ratings get released, but then we can def them a game. But I can probably put together a graphic with the PFF grades. And we can tweet that out because we're going to put this out and let you guys vote on it, and then we'll see if you and if Matt agree. Oh, okay, he does want PFF. Yeah, I'll dig those up when I do tweet this out, so it will be there. And we are planning to run a Madden simulation with these. And so now, the moment we've all been waiting for, it's Mark's QB pick. Quentin says Trevor Lawrence in 5, 4, 3, 2. Mark has a smile that tells me he is taking.
It's really tough, man. It's so tough. Like, what? I guess my question is, and I probably should have asked this before we drafted every other player on the board. What is like our goal here? Are we saying best players right now, or
we're going to put these guys on a field to play each other right now? Which team's going to win?
Oh, then Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Yeah, people are not going to like that, but it's Jalen Hurts. If they're just right now, Jalen Hurts is a better player than Trevor Lawrence. If we're doing like next 3 years, I would take Trevor Lawrence because I think Trevor Lawrence is still an all-time prospect. But I do think, even though I do think the situation was a joke last year, and I don't think he was as bad as people want to make it out to be that he was, he did still show some problems that I didn't expect to see at all, even under the worst situations. I think he's going to be a lot better this year, but I think Hurts will still probably be a little bit better this year. I had Hurts as my 15th best quarterback when we did our quarterback rankings a couple weeks ago, and I kind of by the end of the podcast talked myself into him being 14th. Just in terms of winning right now in a game, I'd have to go with Jalen Hurts. Also, since this is an Eagles podcast, just want to say this real quick. I guess this is going to be like our final thoughts column here. Did you see the article from, I should have sent it to you before, but from PFT, from Mike Florio, about Jalen Hurts and the contract situation that he's going to be in next year?
I didn't.
Basically being like $35 million is not a lot of money for Hurts next year. I'd be like, whoa, like the way he was saying it, he was like, if you look at what's going to happen with Russell Wilson and with yada, 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 and he named all these quarterbacks that are about to get paid, I guess, that he thinks are going to reset the market at $50 to $60 million. Then he's like, if Jalen Hurts wants above average to average starter money, that's going to start over 30 million. So he's like, so you're going to hear 35 million in a contract and you're going to think it's a bad contract, but he was basically like saying if Jalen Hurts is an above average quarterback, then it's actually a steal of a contract. So I get the point of what he's saying in terms of the quarterback market's going to reset, but unless the salary cap is resetting, then I don't think you can probably win with Jalen Hurts making $35 million.
Yeah, money aside, I'm not looking to pay an above average starting quarterback. I either want a good starting quarterback or I want a rookie. One of the two. Like paying a middling quarterback is not, and I'm not saying that's going to be Hurts. He might play. I think he's going to have a good year this year, but I think it's flawed roster construction to say, well, this guy's above average, so we're going to give him a big second contract, but it won't be an elite contract. Like if you don't have the confidence in your quarterback to go make him one of the highest paid, then you probably shouldn't do the deal.
Yeah, I think we'll be talking franchise tags when it comes to the time if they don't make a move for someone else. That's something I could definitely see in Jalen's future.
Yeah, Quentin does like your pick there. He says Hurts is a good pick. So just to recap, for those of you following along at home, maybe you're just listening to the podcast, you can't see it. I will throw this up on Twitter, so go check it out. It'll probably be tomorrow, though, so I can get time to add those PFF grades. But Mark's roster on offense is quarterback Jalen Hurts, running back Jonathan Taylor. His wide receiver trio is Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and CeeDee Lamb, with Kyle Pitts at tight end and Devonta Smith as a flex.
If Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball with those receivers and that tight end, then he's really not the right guy. But
absolutely. His offensive line is Rashaan Slater, Trey Smith, Tyler Linderbaum, Kenyan Green, Penei Sewell with Landon Dickerson as a flex. My offense is quarterbacked by the god Justin Herbert, running back Najee Harris. My wide receiver trio is Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, and T. Higgins. Pat Fryermuth is my tight end. Darnell Mooney is my flex. My offensive line was Andrew Thomas, Michael Onwenu, Creed Humphrey, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Tristan Worfs, with Ike Ekwonu as a flex. On defense, Mark has on the defensive line Kvon Thibodeaux, Christian Barmore, Quinnen Williams, Chase Young. He has Devin Lloyd and Micah Parsons at linebacker, with Nakobe Dean as a flex. His cornerback trio was Sauce Gardner, Travon Diggs, and Andrew Booth Jr., with Kyle Hamilton, Xavier McKinney, and Daxton Hill as his safeties.
That's a funny comment.
My defense was Nick Bosa, Jordan Davis, Ed Oliver, and Rashawn Gary on the defensive line, with Brian Burns as a flex. Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah and Devin White at linebacker. My cornerback trio was AJ Terrell, Patrick Surtain, and Derek Stingley Jr. And my safety trio was Antoine Winfield Jr., Jeremy Chin, and Javon Holland. We've got Squidward Tentacles. He says, Adam Schefter, per sources, Mark Henry Jr. has been relieved of his GM duties. The move comes as no surprise after Henry Jr. went against the owner's wishes and selected Jalen Hurts. I saw that comment pop up while I was reading the rosters, and I just saw per sources in your name, and I didn't know whether he was saying per sources you won or lost. And so I threw it up there just trusting in Squidward's good judgment, and it prevailed once again. So yeah, Squidward declares me the winner here.
I'm open to criticism on the Hurts thing, and I don't think it's just Trevor Lawrence. By the way, if you want to get real crazy, I think Trey Lance is in the conversation too. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but I think Trey Lance might even be kind of like the bridge between Trevor Lawrence's huge upside, because I think Lance has huge upside as well, and also like the combination of Jalen Hurts' floor due to rushing ability. Like, I don't think Trey Lance is going to be bad, just because of how athletic he is and how much of a runner he is going to be. So even if he does lag behind as a passer in certain abilities, like I thought, and this was our whole thing last year, like I thought Jalen Hurts had an 8-win floor last year. I kind of feel the same way this year. Like, I think when you have that rushing ability, it gives you a floor. I kind of feel the same way about Trey Lance. So that was what kind of forced me away from Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence is absolutely the right pick if this is like a multiple year process.
Yeah, I would have taken Trevor Lawrence, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is crazy. He would have been the number 3 guy for me there. You know, if this was a 3-team draft, just for, like you said, that floor, that rushing ability. I do think people are a little more down on Lawrence than they should be. I think he played a lot better. Like you put on the tape of Lawrence, not you, but people are down on Lawrence. Now you put on the tape and you have to realize how good he played last year with a coach whose number one priority was getting fired and a roster that couldn't compete in the SEC. It couldn't compete in the Big 12. And
I don't know if that was his number one priority, judging by those videos at the bar.
Yeah, but it's a family show, so we'll say his number one priority was getting fired here.
I had to sneak that in.
So those are our rosters here. This is a fun exercise, Mark. A lot of good players out there. Maybe we'll flip this around in the future weeks, and we'll do like an all old man roster, like over 33 or over 35 or something like that.
I like that.
So if you guys have some ideas for some shows, especially I like draft type shows, if you got some ideas for us, hit us up on Twitter. Still looking for ideas. I've got a few more in the head that I haven't even run by Mark yet, but we'll get some stuff coming out to you guys, getting ready for the season to start. Mark, before we get out of here, do you got any last final thoughts that you want to get out there?
I got it off with the Hurts thing, but yeah, whenever we do head coach rankings, it's going to be a war when Shane ranks Kyle Shanahan like 24th and I rank him first. It's going to be a war.
I don't think Kyle Shanahan is that bad of a coach. I think he's a good coach. I just don't think he's a god tier coach like everyone thinks he is. I'll say this. No, I won't say it. I'm not even going to say it. It'll start a whole conversation.
What is it? No, you have to do it. You have to say it. You have to say it.
Kyle Shanahan is a very good coach that needs a GM that will tell him you're playing these players. Like we got the whole thing,
that's fair.
Where Howie Roseman was supposedly dictating to Doug Peterson who was going to play. If they had that in San Francisco, the 49ers would be a better football team because it takes this much to get in the doghouse with Kyle Shanahan. You got receivers that are good players that all of a sudden just aren't playing. You traded the whole future of your franchise to go get Trey Lance at number 3 and you didn't even play him. Like his personnel management is horrible. His football mind is great. His personnel management is atrocious. And that's ultimately where my biggest quibble comes with him.
That's totally fair. That, you know what? Like we've talked about Kyle Shanahan a lot on this show. I think that's the most fair conversation we've had. Because I totally 100% agree with that. We talked about Ayuk, Trey Sermon, Trey Lance at multiple times last year. Totally agree with that. My whole thing about Kyle Shanahan is I think he is just a genius in terms of play calling and in terms of the thing he does in game planning. But yeah,
I think that'll be a fun pod. Can't manage people, and honestly, I think players probably are attuned to that as well. So
he seems to be liked though, but it's a weird thing. I hear what you're saying. It's a weird situation.
There's nuance there. Where there is no nuance is that Sean McVay is a coward, and I will never rank him as a top 5 coach.
He's pretty good. I'm not a McVay guy like I'm a Shanahan guy, but he's a good coach. He did coach like an idiot in the playoffs. I felt like he tried to lose them multiple games, but he won a Super Bowl, so no one won.
He did. Matthew Stafford. We were worried about Matthew Stafford going into the playoffs. It turns out Matthew Stafford carried Sean McVay. Or we should just say Cooper Kupp carried everybody.
And Donald. Yeah, Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. Oh, my God.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. Thank you guys for joining us for episode number 61 of Chalk Talk. If you enjoy what you heard on the show, and we know that you do, be sure you smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. Drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at @halfandhalf_TPL. Be sure you check out tomorrow. I'll get that up as a poll. You guys can vote for who won this exercise. Follow Mark at Mark Henry Jr. From me, from Mark, from the Painted Lines. We'll see you guys next time.